Hi, greetings, and a very good day, I bid. I and my PBL mates from PBL 7 were given a task to review a paper titled as Dietary Recommendations for Familial Hypercholesterolemia and Evidence-Free Zone. Our group was required to review the paper based on the questions that was given to us. That is, what is LDLC? Is it found in all humans? What is atherogenic dyslipidemia? What does figure 1 shows in the article? What is the significance of P? Is LDLC the best marker of cardiovascular disease? And look online to see what is the general advice given regarding LDL. And lastly, is this information in keeping with the statements in the article? So first of all, we need to know what is LDLC. LDLC is widely known as low density lipoprotein cholesterol, which often called bad cholesterol, that makes up most of our body's cholesterol. High levels of this LDL cholesterol will raise up our risk for heart disease. It is because when our body has too much LDL cholesterol, the LDL cholesterol can build up on the walls of our blood vessels. This build-up is called plaque, which can cause those diseases. But cholesterol isn't all that dangerous actually. Our body needs to protect our nerves and make healthy cells and hormones. Some of cholesterol comes from our food, and some of them come from the production of our liver itself. This cholesterol won't dissolve in our blood, so protein is needed to carry it to where it needs to be. These proteins, or specifically carrier proteins, are called lipoproteins.
Is LDLC found in all humans? Well, it is, because LDLC is a form of cholesterol. LDLC can be found in particles that range in size and composition, such as LB-LDL and SD-LDL. LDLC has been made prominent because of its association with coronary heart disease, CHD, based on insufficient evidence-based research.
Today, the question that I'd like to discuss is what is atherogenic dyslipidemia? So atherogenic dyslipidemia actually refers to an increased level of triglycerides and LDL cholesterol, and also a decreased level of HDL cholesterol, which is the good cholesterol. And as I said just now, atherogenic dyslipidemia actually consists of a triad of conditions which include increased levels of triglycerides and LDL, and also a decreased level concentration of HDL. So atherogenic dyslipidemia, metabolic syndrome, insulin resistance, or we can call it as type 2 diabetes mellitus, are actually typical features of obesity and also important risk for or factor for myocardial infarction and also other cardiovascular diseases. So research has stated that high carbohydrate intake or diet will actually cause an effect on atherogenic dyslipidemia, as low carbohydrate diets appear to have beneficial lipoprotein effects in individuals with atherogenic dyslipidemia compared to high carbohydrate diets. So however, the content of total fat or saturated fat in the diet appears to have less effect. So this is the answer for the question, what is atherogenic dyslipidemia? Thank you.
Figure 1 shows the data from a study that relates the amount of fasting plasma triglycerides in men that have heterozygote familial hypercholesterolemia (FH) with the percentage of them with myocardial infarction. Based on the data shown, it shows that the occurrence of myocardial infarction in heterozygote FH men is 3 times higher if they have high triglycerides. The borderline to determine high or low triglycerides is 200 mg per deciliter. Therefore, in this data, it means that men with low triglycerides are those with below 200 mg per deciliter, while high triglycerides are those with over 200 mg per deciliter. To conclude, we can say that in men with heterozygote FH are more likely to have myocardial infarction if they have high triglycerides than those who have low triglycerides, with the normal amount of triglycerides that should be compared, which is 200 mg per deciliter.
P-values are the preferred method to summarize the results of medical articles because the p-value is the outcome of a statistical test. Many authors and readers consider it the most important summary of the statistical analysis. The p-value only tells you how likely the data you have observed is to have occurred under the null hypothesis. A p-value less than 0.05 is typically considered to be statistically significant, in which case the null hypothesis should be rejected. A p-value greater than 0.05 means that deviation from the null hypothesis is not statistically significant, and the null hypothesis is not rejected. Hence, this goes to show that the hypothesis made regarding TG levels and occurrence of myocardial infarction as well as the presence of fibrinogen and the occurrence of CHD, are not statistically significant.
The answer is no. LDL-C is a poor marker for cardiovascular risk, especially if in isolation. Albeit it is true that LDL-C level in individuals with FH is high, indicating an increased risk of CHD, but even with dietary intervention to reduce the level of LDL-C alone does not aid much. And this is explicitly shown in the findings whereby in the general population, individuals with zero coronary artery calcium (CAC) score are found to be at large in percentage, even at soaring levels of LDL-C, which is more than 190 milligrams per deciliter, and thus it can be deduced that they are at very low risk of future CHD. And on top of that, people over the age of 90 years old with high level of LDL-C live equally, if not longer, than those with low LDL-C level. Hence, other biomarkers relating to the CHD, such as lipoprotein, is a beta marker, as it is more apparently present in FH individuals with CHD than the converse.
A simple search on the internet and it is apparent that the general public still has a negative perspective regarding LDL cholesterol, LDL-C. LDL-C is often regarded as the bad cholesterol. The frequent reason given as to why it is bad is that it contributes to fatty buildups in arteries, which eventually causes arteriosclerosis. This certain misconception has been deeply ingrained in the minds of the public since decades ago that medications and specific diets are recommended in an effort to lower the LDL-C level. Thus, it is undeniable that it might require a lot of time and effort before people actually realize the misconception they have had regarding LDL-C on our health all this while.
The most prominent advice given to people with high LDL levels is to go on a low-fat diet, LFD. It means that they have to cut foods that are high in cholesterol, such as egg, butter, cream, or fat milk. In contradiction to what the public believes, the article claims that LFD would be ineffective in the aim of reducing individual susceptibility to develop coronary heart disease, CHD. There are findings that show most CHD are developed due to thrombotic risk and are associated with insulin-resistant phenotype for FH individuals, familial hypercholesterolemia. Therefore, the publication urges a review on the diet guidelines and suggested that the public should go on a low-carbohydrate diet instead. That is all from us. Thank you.